Alright, guys, welcome back to the traditional channel. This is going to be lecture number 16, Modern versus Traditional Society. The classic social thinkers of the late 19th and early 20th centuries recognized the unique impacts of science, individual liberty, capitalism, industrial technology, growing social equality, and urbanization. Classic sociology, mostly German, called attention to the laws of community and tradition in modern liberal society. Many were influenced by Nietzsche's Death of God and reversion to the will to power. Freud saw in civilization the accumulation of guilt due to the progressive restrictions of instincts. Perhaps the most influential of these thinkers was Marx Weber, who analyzed the unavoidable rationalization, pluralism, freedom, and alienation of modern society. Understanding modernity. The new sociologists of the late 19th and early 20th centuries recognized that contemporary society was novel. Traditional society related individuals through statuses or roles in local and kin groups that defined their nature or essence, and societies whose parts were highly similar in function. Modern society increasingly related individuals through explicit legislation governing individual contracts, hence voluntary association, in which society is characterized by a high degree of division of labor. Henry Sumner Maine argued in his Ancient Law its connection with the early history of society and its relation to modern ideas. That ancient law understood individuals as failing under a status of role, integrating them into that way, whereas modern society increasingly relates individuals via contract. Ferdinand Tönnies proposed in his 1887 Gemeinschaft unter Gesellschaft that modern contractual Gesellschaft society had emerged from traditional Gemeinschaft community. Gemeinschaft community determines the Wesenswille, essential will, of the individual with an implicit morality to which all must conform. In Gesellschaft, which was the society, the whole will, arbitrary will, depends on voluntary joining of groups for some particular purpose. Laws of community, in the essence of modernity, the unity of local association rooted in the essential individual is lost in favor of a looser kind of association dependent on voluntary choice. Emil Durkheim saw the most powerful feature of modernity as the ever-increasing division of labor in his 1893 The Division of Labor in Society. He distinguished mechanical from organic solidarity. Traditional segmentary societies exhibited mechanical solidarity, meaning that each part of the society is similar. What holds society together is the resemblance of its parts. But in modern society, solidarity is organic. It is similar to a biological system in which the parts have highly differentiated functions, all necessary to the whole. George Simmels' Philosophy of Money, published in 1900, argued that the new commercial society, which understood everything in terms of monetary exchange, had altered our understanding of life. The application of money to more of social life as the symbolic medium of exchange leads to the unprecedented equality and freedom that makes it possible to join associations without sacrificing individuality. But the human yearning for satisfaction can never be fulfilled in this new world. Money depersonalizes and intellectualizes, making all things emotionally equivalent. Max Weber. Of all these thinkers, the most comprehensive was Marx Weber. In the Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, 1905, Weber argued that capitalism evolved and thrived only in Protestant countries, where Calvinism had more worldly accomplishments, a sign of membership in God's elect. For Weber, in modernity, all activities, institutions, and areas of life tend to be rationalized, that is, subject to rational improvement in terms of their efficiency, productivity, or truth. Rational self-control replaces traditions or customs. Each enterprise tries to make itself more efficient and hence independent of the social whole. This requires the separation of facts from values that make your business more efficient. You must ignore or replace all ways of doing things that embody other values such as traditions or social interaction among workers. At the same time, social authority changes from charismatic and traditional to legal. Traditional authority is the authority of parents, tribal leaders, elders, institutions, and the transmitted culture. Charismatic authority is the uniquely commanding and expressive power of an individual, such as a religious leader or business entrepreneur. Last is the one rationalized or rationalizable from a form of authority, law. In modernization, charisma and tradition tend to be replaced by law. In his 1918 lecture, Science as a Vocation, Weber develops a rather philosophical extension of his analysis. Rationalization leads to value pluralism. Human values are polytheistic, meaning that we have no way to integrate them. The aims or ends of life are in competition, and we must simply choose among them. There is no comprehensive or unifying perspective unless we adopt an all-encompassing religious view. Religion was a unifying factor, reflected in all a changeless life guided by tradition. Progress, although some take it in to provide meaning, actually undermines meaning. The biblical Abraham could die satiated with life, having done all that a man of his time could do. But today's scientist, athlete, or architect must know that those who follow will destroy and improve on his or her achievements. In his companion essay, Politics as a Vocation, Weber distinguishes between what he calls the ethics of ultimate ideals and the ethics of responsibility. The former seeks the ultimate goals announced by political movements without concern for the concrete steps that must be taken to achieve them or for them unintended consequences. The latter requires that leaders not ignore such consequences. As a result, politics is not a matter of self-righteousness positioning, it is a slow burning of hard boards. Weber linked the combination of instrumental rationality and the urge to ever greater efficiency in bureaucratic structures to living in an iron cage. Scientific and economic rationality, individual freedom and equality, and material progress all comes at a price: alienation. In response, Weber saw only two options: bear the fate of the time like a man, or return to the open arms of the old churches. Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud's theory famously held that consciousness is driven by unconscious instincts, particularly sex and aggression. The ego or self must will, trying to deal with a reality, defend itself from both the instincts and the superego, the internalized sensorial voice of our parents. The instincts are dangerous to the ego, and it resists them through a variety of defense mechanisms while expressing them in sublimated or displaced forms. Freud was no libertine. Repression of instincts is good and necessary, but if it is too extreme, neurotic illness results. The general picture is of the human physique in permanent conflict. The low origins of high human activities, for example, cultural activities, are sublimations of base instincts, ways of getting partial sexual and aggressive satisfaction otherwise blocked. In one of his last books, Civilization and Its Discontent, 1930, Freud argued that the growth of civilizations must bring with it an ever-increasing sense of unhappiness due to guilt. The reason for this is that social advance requires more complete suppression of instincts, particularly aggression. The unconscious psyche, however, remains aware of the now unfulfilled instincts. This awareness causes the superego to generate guilt, redirecting this aggression toward the self. A great blow of Freud's overall work is against the self-image of the 19th century Victorian man. increasingly master of nature, science, and the world, but not his own soul. Friedrich Nietzsche. The bulk of Friedrich Nietzsche's mature work is an unrelenting critique of Judeo-Christian morality. He attacked the religious tradition and its morality as injurious to the greatness, power, and health of Western civilization. Nietzsche contrasts aristocratic morality with slave morality, the morality of honor and power versus the morality of meekness, for which power itself is evil. The slave morality, which invents the term evil as a label for those it fears, is fueled by resentment. It creates God as a beloved judge who will reward the weak and downtrodden in the next life and torture the powerful eternally in the fires of hell. This view gives the slaves the poor a meaning for their suffering and why live with it. Those defeated by life, those lacking in strength or creativity, must find meaning that will make their suffering bearable, hence Judaism and Christianity. Nietzsche's philosophy is sometimes associated with nihilism, or the rejection of all values, but Nietzsche claims that it is Judaism and Christianity that are nihilistic. They devalue humanity, nature, and life. They are anti-life, against the will to power or expression of instincts that is the essence of life. For Nietzsche, the greatest nihilism is the valuing man, considering human beings incapable of greatness. This is the dawning of Judaism and Christianity, the slave religions, and they have made Western society sick. Nietzsche was virtually the first major intellectual to see that Western society was abandoning God. He famously wrote, "God is dead, but what values will replace Christian values?" One of Nietzsche's most compelling notions was his eternal recurrence, an idea drawn from the thermodynamics of his day. If matter is finite and time is infinite, then sooner or later every possible combination of atoms will occur, in fact, will repeat endlessly. That means your own life will endlessly recur with no change or progress. Could we look upon this with joy? Say yes to eternal, pointless return. Nietzsche thought it could be done. He hoped for the Übermensch, the Oberman, or Superman, who could live with this and affirm it, create meaning and value despite it. He imagined the prophet of the Overman as his character Zarathustra. In his anti-Christian methodical tale, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Zarathustra is the spokesman for finding meaning in the Cold War of power without any telos or God. Social thinking and politics. The modern world brought higher standards of living, unprecedented scientific knowledge and technological achievements, more rational law and politics, and widespread literacy. It remained the world, but it was also generated constant change, the undermining of tradition, and the loss of community for many. In the midst of such change, Freud and Nietzsche told us that the belief in unlimited progress and the rational perfectibility of man is an illusion, that in our hearts or unconscious we are still primitive. They undermine the Victorian conception of rational man and endless improvement of society. Freud and Nietzsche, at some extent, Weber took the discontents brought by change and explained them with a new pessimism about the limits of reason. These thinkers reflect the unease many people felt about modernization and explain it with a new background pessimism that would fuel political movements in the decades to come. Alright guys, so I hope you like this latest video. Hit like, subscribe, and share the video if you want to. Bye.